Hello, and welcome to The Renaissance Report, a freelance podcast series talking with educators and experts from everywhere on the need to improve climate, culture, and morale in K through 12 schools today, and how ideas from the Jostens Renaissance effort can help schools get there. Listen in as our guests discuss their experiences and ideas that have helped their schools achieve goals and just become places that people want to go to, not just have to go to. It's possible, and any school can achieve it. Our guest in this episode is Brad McCloskey. He's a facilitator and teacher at Robb Elementary School in Lock Haven, Pennsylvania. Robb Elementary is a school that went all in on Jostens Renaissance ideas in the past couple of years, and it has made a tremendous difference in the life of their school, along with getting some pretty good publicity in the local paper, television, and more. Everybody there is talking about what are they doing at Robb. They're doing things the right way. Now, if you're interested in ideas to help your school at all levels, but especially at the elementary level, grab a pad and pen because Brad is about to share a lot of very successful ideas that they have used to really boost culture and climate in their particular elementary school. Well, first off, let's welcome our friend Brad McCloskey to the Renaissance Report podcast. Brad, really appreciate your time today. Thanks for joining us here.
Yeah, Scott, appreciate you having me. Appreciate everything you do and Jostens as well. But
that's very
looking forward to another great year coming up here.
Now, we're going to talk about a lot of things, but really two main emphases we're going to kind of hit here. The fact that for the 23-24 school year, your school kind of really went in and did a lot of cool Renaissance stuff and had results. So we're going to talk about that. But also the fact that, of course, that you are an elementary school. And Brad, I've been doing this for a quarter century, and I've had a number of people in that time kind of say, well, Renaissance, that's a high school thing. Doesn't really fit elementary, We're going to try to poke a hole in that one because it's not true. It's absolutely inaccurate. So we're going to talk about that as well. First off, let's meet you. All right. Do us a favor. Tell us some information about yourself. What is your experience in education? What do you teach? And along with that, your school is Robb Elementary School in Lock Haven, Pennsylvania. So tell us about you. And then after that, maybe kind of tell us something about your school. Give us the background of your school. Go ahead.
Absolutely. Thank you. So my name is Brad McCloskey. I've been teaching for coming up on my 20th year, actually. I started out in third grade. I taught third grade and fifth grade most of my career. Once our fifth grade actually moved to the middle school, then I taught math for about 2.5 years until my current position became available, which is a facilitator at Robb Elementary, kind of dealing with behavior, teaching respect and responsibility. So once I got kind of word about Jostens, I thought it could really help out with that position. Our school is a population of about 400 students, about 80 faculty. So we're a pretty big school for an elementary school. We have nearly 80% or 79 point something of low socioeconomical students. So a lot of students with a lot of needs. And just Jostens has really helped out with those students and helping them to feel seen, heard, and loved. So that's pretty much where we're coming from in terms of what our school is. And yeah.
I can tell you're a Renaissance supporter because you use the term staffaldy, which is a Renaissance term for folks who maybe aren't familiar. Faculty and staff, I don't know, somebody years ago kind of flipped that around and made it staffaldy. So that's pretty cool. I like that. And you mentioned you're not from an affluent area. You have a lot of folks that on the economic scale are unfortunately down toward the lower end. And let's go there. All right. You mentioned in your remark a minute ago, Renaissance has really helped with that, maybe that everybody, of course, but that particular group there. Describe that. Why did you say that?
Well, in my opinion, the main goal around Jostens is, like our friend PC says, to make everybody feel seen, heard, and loved. And unfortunately, some of the students that walk through our buildings from 7:30 to 2:30 is about the only time they get a chance to be seen, heard, and loved because they don't always have that attention at home that some of us grew up with. we're fortunate and blessed with. Many of our students do, don't get me wrong. We have great families that really love and care for their kids, but just the idea of making our students feel seen, heard, and loved while they're at school makes them want to be at school. And that is kind of the idea behind fixing, in my opinion, this new generation of behavior problems. It's hard to make students listen anymore, make them learn, make them behave. We have to kind of flip the script and make them want to learn, make them want to behave, make them want to listen. And they will, because if they want to be there, you think about anything you do, if it's something that you want to do, you always do it better. And it's just something that we're kind of diving into, and making our kids feel that way, feeling seen, heard, and loved throughout the day has definitely helped.
All right, now there's a follow-up question which I was going to ask, and you pretty much just hit it. And it's one that I'm asking a lot of folks at all levels, elementary, middle, high school, and so on. Kids are just different today. Is this the pandemic? Was this happening before the pandemic? It sounds, everybody seems just like, yep, yep, yep. Kids are just different today. Do you know why, Brad? It doesn't seem to be different in a good way. It's more different in a way. Talk about that
Yeah,
a bit. What do you think?
yeah, absolutely. It's definitely different. Like I said, I've been teaching for 20 years, so you can see a difference in the behavior. People always say we need to go back old school to, make these kids listen and everything. And my comment to that was most of the problems that we have with students stem from issues at home. And what kind of discipline did parents have when they went through school? They had old school discipline. So obviously it might work in the moment, that quick band-aid fix discipline of more punishment than a discipline. Discipline is to teach. And if these kids don't know how to behave, we need to take the time to actually teach them and show them how to behave, and doing that in a positive way, which Jostens is always, very, very adamant about, making sure that we really touch on these, students' behaviors when they're doing something positive, and then obviously teach them when they doing things that they can't. Um, I always look at like suspensions, for example. Don't like suspensions because, when I taught math class, if a student failed a math test, it would make no sense at all for me to say, you know what, you're going home for 3 days, and when you come back, you better be ready to pass that math test. Unless they're going home to college math professors as parents, they're not going to get better at math while they're at home. Well, I don't really understand why we expect students to get better behavior when we send them home for 3 days. They come back and they're usually worse than they were. So we need to, finding ways to actually teach these students. And most of the time, it's nothing, it's not brain surgery. You just show them that you care, build a relationship with them, and then they'll start to do what you do. For one example, our students would always get kind of yelled at in the morning for breakfast time. They wouldn't clean up their mess, which is a generational thing I know, and my daughter's not too far off of that, just cleaning up after themselves. And they tried, we tried the whole yelling at them to remind them. And then I went and ordered like 4 of those little grabber things, like the things so when you get old like us that, you don't have to bend over anymore to pick up. But so I went and ordered 4 of them, and I just started walking around and picking up some stuff. Pretty soon I had kids asking me, hey, can I do that? Can I do that? So it's just a different approach, of a different way of thinking. It's not, yelling at them isn't going to work. A lot of these kids, they're immune to yelling. Sometimes that's all they hear. It doesn't really phase them, because if you don't have the parent backup too, then it's not going to help. So showing them, and just, building that relationship with them, make them want to clean up their mess because they're proud of their school, or because they want to look like they are responsible and they want that responsibility. So speaking
Now,
of staff, by the way, you mentioned that before. We just had a meeting last week to plan our opening day, our opening 3 days of school. We're going to make it big this year. I can touch more on that later, but one of the teachers made a comment like, "Oh, it's kind of funny. My phone no longer autocorrects staffalty anymore." I said, "Mine does. It makes it capitalized. Every time I types it, it capitalizes it for me." I said,
I haven't
yeah,
noticed that on my phone. I'll have to
yeah,
check that out. I don't know. Now,
yeah.
elementary, of course, we're talking little guys and girls,
Yep.
right? We're talking
Mhm.
little ones. I, when I think of little ones, I think smiles and happy and all this sort of thing. I mean, what kind of, if you don't mind, you kind of touched on a little bit, what kind of behavior problems have you been seeing over the last couple of years from these little guys? What's been going on?
Yeah, there's definitely some there. I mean, our school, by the way, we have a lot of special needs as well. We have emotional support, we have life skills, autistic support. And it's just there's some extremes, of course, especially with emotional support and things, physical contact kind of thing, physical throwing chairs type thing. Not a lot. It's gotten a lot better. Defiance is probably the biggest one. These students that just say, no, I don't want to do it. And sometimes, unfortunately, they don't want to do it at home, and that's what happens. They just don't do it. So defiance is probably one of the biggest ones. Language, when I first started there 2.5 years ago, was really bad. And again, it's a handful of students. When you look at our office discipline referrals or ODRs, there's 90% of our students have one or two or zero ODRs for the year. And that's out of 400 students. That's a lot of students. It's just like any other school. It's that, 5 to 10% that get all of our attention, because that's who needs our attention the most. So we do give it to them. But Jostens helps us to recognize and give more attention to the 90+ % of students who are doing what they're supposed to be doing, and really following we call them our 4 Bs. We have be safe, be responsible, be respectful, and be kind. And we teach that it's not just at school, it's everywhere. So we do that at home, we do it in restaurants. But even when they're young, they definitely have that. And I think it's more important to hit them when they're young. Because actually, when I applied for this job at the elementary school, there was a facilitator position for the middle school and high school available too. And I didn't even apply for it because I truly believe that behaviors are habits. And if we don't catch them early, then you can make good habits or you can make bad habits. Some of the students that got a little bit of help they need this year in our third grade class, for example, they started to get some more support that they needed, but they still had so much. They had basically 4 years of habits of running out of the room or of just getting upset and just shutting down. So it's about breaking those habits. So if we can catch them early and kind of give them even a different outlook on what school is. It's not, I even tell our parents that, like, please don't tell your kid you have to go to school. You get to go to school. And once we start to really believe that, then that's a game changer. Because if you believe this is a privilege, this is awesome, we get to go every day, then it totally changes your whole outlook.
All right. So a couple of years ago, let's say there were issues, and at some point you came across Jostens Renaissance. I mean, what grabbed your attention? What was it that you said, hey, that looks pretty good, we should try that? What got you guys started?
Yeah, so when I was at the middle school, I was there for about 2.5 years teaching math in fifth grade. Christina Oniskonwich, the teacher of the year from last year, shout out to her. She was awesome. She had Jostens going on in there. So I got to see a little piece of it. And during the COVID time when we were virtual, we actually had Mike Smith and PC it was a virtual assembly. And I can remember telling my students on the computer, like, look, I know it's virtual, but just be respectful. Make sure you just listen to what they have to say. Because I'm thinking, it's hard enough to keep a kid's attention during an assembly, let alone on a computer when they're at their house with video games around, stuff like that. And when Mike Smith and PC got on there, I was just blown away. And a little thing that they even showed me, like, for any time you have, virtual days on snow days or anything like that, like just them standing up, doing a virtual thing, standing up, it really changed. Like, I felt I got energized just watching them on a screen. So it motivated me when we were still back when we were remote. I actually put a little box up on my table and I put my computer up there and I stood up and taught the class instead of just sitting down in my chair. It just changes the whole perspective of it. But just seeing that part and just everything that especially PC had to say, just so motivating, and just thinking about how we could use that. And a lot of the stuff on Jostens is geared toward middle and high school. I think they are adding some elementary components, some social emotional learning. They talked about adding some videos for that, which would be awesome. I don't know if they're up and running yet. But they can easily be adapted. Like, the ideas exchange on there is awesome. That's where we got quite a few of our ideas. I don't know, you want me to list some of the things that we did last year? I mean, if you're up for some of them, we kicked off the year with the red carpet idea. We had the local movie theater donated their staunches, I think they were called, which is a new word to me, but those ropes that go along the red carpet, they have a fancy name, didn't know that. So we got those donated. One of the teachers had a red carpet from a wedding that she had. We rolled this red carpet out, put the staunches up, I think it was called. Local limousine company, I asked them if they'd be willing, turned out their grandson went to our school and I worked with them quite a bit, and like, oh, we love what you guys are doing down there. Absolutely, we'll donate that. They brought down this big Cadillac Escalade limousine, backed it up on the sidewalk. We opened up both the doors. Kids got off the bus, or our walkers came in and climbed through the limousine. We still have the videos of the kids just getting in, and that kind of idea, obviously, I got from Jostens of the limo, but our theme last year was champions. That's one thing Jostens really recommends, and is having a theme that you can follow throughout the year. And I got that idea from watching my nephew play baseball. They were winning. They were the district champions. And I'm watching these kids run around the field with this banner. And I'm thinking, how many of our 400 kids will ever get to be a champion like that? How will they get to feel something like that? And if they don't get that feeling sometime, then it doesn't motivate them to work harder and to try to become a champion in their own way, whatever way it might be. So we decided we're going to make these kids feel like champions any way we can. And we use the Carrie Underwood song Champion. We went through each month, we did a different letter. So the month of September was C is for Courage. We do monthly meetings with our kids. Once a month, we meet with them. We share our office discipline referrals. We share the positives that the kids are doing. We share ways that they could help other students to really to improve their behavior. And our kids are awesome. They know the seen, heard, and loved thing. They love it. I said, most of the office discipline referrals that come in have to do with students wanting peer attention. And so we tell the kids, like, look, if they are yelling out in class and you say, stop yelling, guess what you just did? And they'll be like, we made them feel seen, heard, and loved. I'm like, exactly. You gave them attention. So if you don't say anything, let the teacher deal with that if they're yelling out. But as soon as you see them raise their hand, give them a fist bump. Say, nice job, man. I like how you raised your hand. Like just those little things. And just recognizing the positives. We actually had a little first grader that told her teacher, and teacher came up to me. She's like, yeah, she's like, I got humbled a little bit. I'm like, why is that? She's like, one of my first graders told me, you need to do what Mr. McCloskey said and give more attention to the positives, because make them feel seen, heard, and loved, because you're yelling too much at the other ones and they're just getting attention. So,
Little
yeah.
guys are
So we
smarter
did
than we give them credit for, I think,
They are, honestly. It's amazing what they can pick up on. They love the champion things. They go around. We have, of course, cameras all over our school. So I always tell them, hey, if you're walking by a camera, give us a champion flex. I say, because anytime I'm looking for like video footage, I love to see kids, and you'll see them every now and then. They'll do this, like, but it really took off, and I was really happy with how well our staff would is amazing. And that's the other thing. You couldn't do this if you don't have everybody on board. And we really do, like, and I think it's because they're seeing that it is working. Yeah, we still have our issues, and we still have students that they got a lot of habits to break, but there's definitely positives coming from it.
All right,
So
let me follow up on that last thought there. All right.
yeah.
Teacher and administrator buy-in. I was going to ask, how is your group organized? In other words, like who's involved, and especially at the elementary level, are kids somehow involved with, coming up with activities and various things? But so how is your group organized? But how important that you really need everybody to buy into this? And was that difficult? I don't know. Did you maybe have a little pushback from some people like, nah, I don't think so? Tell us about how your group is kind of organized.
Yeah, sure. So our first of all, our principal, Mr. Barr, shout out to him. He's awesome. He's always up for letting us try things and doing things differently, just again get these kids to want to be here and just to feel loved. But is 100% a staff all hands on deck. We have our Megans, we call them in the office, our secretaries. They're both named Megan. They are hands on. They'll do anything you ask them to. They do. We did our hump day drawdown, another ideas exchange, where every Wednesday, hump day, we draw 4 teachers' names out. And again, that's another way to get teachers to buy in. They're like, you know what? It gets them to feel seen, heard, and loved. So the first teacher's name we call out, and it's basically a reverse lottery kind of thing. At the end, we went to local businesses and we got about 6 gift certificates. I even volunteered to detail one of the teachers' cars, whoever won. But then if you're still left in it at the end of the year, then you have a chance to win those. So every Wednesday, we play music over the loudspeaker. We draw 4 names out from our staffity, just a random wheel. Our secretary, Megan, made this wheel and she spins it and it lands and they announce who it is. First person picked gets a duty coverage, which most teachers staffity really enjoy having that day of getting something covered for you. So they have a duty coverage, and the next 3 get $1 scratch off lottery tickets. So they chance to win with that. And something we're adding on this year is we're going to get some surveys going out to teachers to learn a little bit more about them. So then for that week from Wednesday to Tuesday, that is their kind of spotlight week where we can really, like during announcements, hey, did you know that Mrs. Thompson really enjoys photography, or that, Mr. Moore really enjoys going for runs with his wife and daughter. Just something like that, just to get more, again, making them feel seen, heard, and loved. But I mean, you always have a few that are going to kind of push back, but we don't have a lot, to be honest with you. And I think it's because we're kind of real, and we get that it's not perfect, and there's no magic wand, but we also have that support for them, I hope. And I'm kind of the middleman. I think that helps a little bit too, because as a facilitator, I'm basically like an assistant principal, but I'm still a teacher contract. So I'm still part of the teacher union and everything else. So I'm kind of the middleman where I kind of help to, I don't know, the mediator, I guess. So I think that helps. But even anywhere from our cafeteria staff, our bus drivers, that they get on board with it. At first, they were a little bit. We assigned some bus leaders. We had some problems on the bus. So I took some fourth graders and put some nice yellow vests on them. And I said, look, this is your job. Why don't you greet the students at the door of the bus on the way out at the end of the day? You give them knuckles, high fives, whatever. I said, then there's one student that sits in the front of the bus, one in the middle, one in the back. You're making sure everybody gets in their seat. You're just talking to them. I said, you don't yell at them. It's not going to work. And I said, like, it took some leadership training for them. I had some that were literally walking up and down the aisle telling kids to sit down. So I had to talk to them like, look, were you sitting down? No. Why do you think they're not listening to you? And again, as a fourth grader, you're 9, 10 years old, but it starts to like, oh yeah, I guess I shouldn't have. And then you're yelling at them to get quiet, right? Okay, do you see the irony in that? You're yelling to get quiet. So not going to work. So just talk to them. Talk to them, have that, we use the word respect, and then the students all say shh, and that'll get them quiet. And it means we have something to say. But yeah, our students really started to get involved with it too. I'm hoping to do that a little bit more this year with more input from them and what they'd like to see. We were able to take a group of students twice to a Jostens event, which was really cool. They were like the VIPs there because they were about the only elementary kids there. I think that one was up in Altoona somewhere. But they were all the kids, the high school, middle school kids, like, oh, look at them, they're so cute. But they got up in front of people and talked. Like, that's something that as a 9 and 10-year-old, you don't have happen too often. So we're trying to get students more involved that way. But yeah, our whole staff, it honestly is. And like I said, I think it's just very fortunate. Number one, we're blessed, but also it's just, we all get each other. We understand that what we're all going through, and we're here for it. And there's going to be bad days, but then, to be a champion means, we use the all in from our friend,
John Paul Gonzalez.
yeah, John Paul. Yeah. So we use that. And I had a few bad days and we kind of all did. And I said, look, here's being all in. All in doesn't mean you come to school every day and it's just the best thing ever. And, rainbows and sunshine, whatever, unicorns. I said, being all in means sometimes you get kicked in the shin on a Tuesday, but you come through that door on Wednesday. And that means you're still going, like you're still trying, you're not giving up. So sometimes all in just looks a little bit different. We did the whole poker chip thing idea with them, and a lot of them have them hanging right by their door in the classroom or on their desk. They have them taped there. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of buy-in, and it helps to have that buy-in because the kids get it too, even that young. They know if you're faking it or not. They know if you truly, believe in the whole champion thing or anything like that. But we did our photography organization that does our class pictures. They did posters. I asked them to do posters for the above the classroom doors to try to get teachers' faces there. A lot of kids don't know. Like we say, who do you want to have next year in second grade? And well, I don't know who the second grade teachers are. So we're trying to find ways to intermix the grades a little more, especially now that we're out of the COVID era. But then just having pictures up on, as you walk through the halls, they did kind of superhero with champion on it and everything else, caricatures kind of thing. Some of them were a little more cartoonish than the teachers or staff what he really wanted. Some of them, mine looked pretty good. I look pretty tough, I'm not gonna lie. So I kept mine for sure. But some of them didn't look the greatest. So I kind of followed up with, hey, I know some of you don't really like the picture that turned out. I said, but look at it this way. Every morning when you walk in that door, look up at that picture and think, boy, I'm glad I don't actually look that bad, So it's just a different way. Of course, making them laugh, you just had to find a way to make them laugh.
You look, Brad, you look great. Okay. Captain America looking great or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Nice.
We'll get back to more insights from Brad McCloskey from Robb Elementary in Lock Haven, Pennsylvania coming up in just a moment. Now, hopefully you've paid attention to the jostensrenaissance.com website recently, whether if you're a Jostens school or not. Our culture challenges are running once again. They were a gigantic hit last year, and so we're looking forward to seeing this year's series of culture challenges and a chance for some schools out there to win $500 for use with their PBIS or Renaissance type efforts. Every month has a different challenge. You can see this again on jostensrenaissance.com. Back to school, then October, November, December. These are all very fun challenges each month. And all a school has to do is sort of document, okay, here's what we did that particular month tied to that particular challenge. There is a brief video involved, not hard to do. And every month, the Jostens Renaissance office will choose 3 schools to each receive $500 in funding for future activities they'd like to do at their school. It's a lot of fun. And it's very creative, a chance to see this is what schools are doing to try to improve their climate and culture, all tied to a monthly theme. So once again, if you haven't already, go to the jostensrenaissance.com website, find the link for the culture challenges, whatever month you're listening to here, go to that month. See what you can do. Note the deadline there, all the things that you need to do. And once again this year, the Jostens Renaissance office will be thrilled to be handing out $1,500 every month, $500 each times 3 schools to help them with their climate and culture efforts. And you might get some good publicity about newspaper, television, and so on from all the fun things that you're doing and the results that you're getting as part of the Jostens Renaissance Culture Challenges. Once again, check that out, jostensrenaissance.com. Now let's get back to our conversation with Brad McCloskey here on the Renaissance Report.
Now, earlier you mentioned our friend PC. For folks who don't know, that's our friend Dr. Phil Campbell, who's one of our Renaissance champions, one of our leaders. And his favorite line for years has been, we want kids to be seen, heard, and loved. And you kind of touched on this a little earlier, and it's downright heartbreaking, Brad. And you get to work with kids way more than I do. A lot of kids just aren't seen, heard, and even that last one, loved.
Yep.
I mean, I guess I'm not trying to rag on parents here, but I don't understand that a lot of these kids of all ages really need that something extra, and the school could be the folks to bring that something extra. And it sounds like that's what you folks have been doing, which is great. Talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, everyone, not just the kids, the adults, we all need that. We need to feel that love somehow. And it's just awesome that the kids can walk up to you like, hey, Mr. McCloskey, I love you. I'm like, I love you too, buddy. You're awesome. Keep being awesome, and just you wonder how much they get to actually say that at home. I don't know. But we really kind of went with that branding too. I got a bracelet here. It says seen, heard, and loved. Our champion themes on there. We're going to get those for all the kids this year. But it's also a nice little reminder. I look down there and think, okay, seen, heard, and loved. I got to make sure, are we making everyone feel seen, heard, and loved as much as possible? And a lot of parents, I did a parenting class too, and I think it helped a lot. I'm going to do some more this year. But just for example, if your kid's sitting there playing just fine, everything else, what do? Well, we ignore it. We don't want to poke the bear, or else we're on our phones and don't realize it. But as soon as they pick up that block and throw it across the room, we yell at them. Well, guess what? Their little brains just said, if I want mom or dad's attention, I need to throw a block. And obviously that's not right, but that's what happened. That's how they got attention, is by throwing that block. But if you just take a minute to say, hey, nice job playing with those blocks there. I appreciate you doing that. I appreciate you cleaning up. Wow, what are you building there? Just that little, thing you can ask them or say to them can make a big difference in how they see how to get attention. We have actually, my wife's here. She's not here, but she's cricketing for me. Here's our Seen, Heard, and Loved champions. Actually just went and bought a couple picnic tables on Craigslist. I think I found them on. They were older, and I kind of cleaned them up a little bit, stained them, and going to put Seen, Heard, and Loved on them. And the idea is to get outside a little bit, take your classes out, sit around the picnic table, do a read aloud, or just hang out. Even our families to come and sit on the playground and be able to see these. Yeah, Seen, Heard, and Loved is just we're constant with that. And it's just, my wife will even say, she kind of gets tired of hearing me say it. She's like, she works at a bank. She said, "Yeah, I had a customer come in. Of course, he's yelling across the lobby, blah, blah, and this is all." And I just kind of grinned. And she goes, "I know. I told the lady I work with, he just wants to be seen, heard, and loved." So that's it. And if we take the time to make him feel that way, then he'll be good. Just let him go. He just wants to
Hey,
feel
it
seen.
works in a school, works in a bank. I think it probably works anywhere, folks. Come
That
on.
does for sure.
All right, now
Yep.
let me be a cynic here for a moment because I'm
Yeah.
thinking somebody is checking us out here from a school someplace and they've
Mhm.
never done anything quite like this. And they're thinking, boy, this sounds expensive. You know, limousine, red carpet, all the stuff, signs, all these things that Brad's talking about. Brad, be honest. I mean, there's work involved. We kind of mentioned that earlier. There's work involved here, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
What about
Yep.
cost? Your
Yeah.
experience, is it really, that expensive?
Well, my principal will tell you that we didn't spend money until Mr. McCloskey got here, but no, it you can definitely find ways to make things happen that are a lot less expensive or even free. And that's Jostens has a lot of ideas on their idea exchange of free ideas or at least cheap. One example we're doing for our staff when we come back this coming year, we're planning for the first day. I think we got PC possibly coming. It'd be awesome. But we were going to give out little pins of years of service for his teachers, staff, who's been there like 10, 15, 20 years, whatever. And we got an email saying, look, that's going to be like over $1,000 for pins, and it's not really in the budget to do that this year. And actually, I think it was Christina that emailed and said, "Hey, we don't need pins. Let's just print out papers and say, hey, 20 years, that's something now you can, that the staff can put it up in their classrooms. Now teachers or students can see that. It's a conversation piece. Like, so just printing out paper now, there's different ways you can find that. Relationships in the community. There's so many people that I think that really want to partner with you. And I think the more you get them involved too, invite them into your schools. We always have our mayor. We say we're the best public education elementary school in our city. We're also the only public education elementary school in our city. But so we had the mayor come in and he does Family Feud with us, and the Lock Haven Police Department comes in. So anytime that, we help them, they help us, and it goes back and forth. Like the movie theater, they donated the Staunches, the limousine company donated that. We get so many groups and organizations that will come and help us just because they believe in it too. Okay, so this past Friday, I went to a classic car show and I was walking in through the gates and everything, um, and the gentleman there, I wore my Robb shirt. Robb, Seen, Heard, Loved on it. This one's Robb Elementary, but I got a gray one that says Seen, Heard, Loved, Robb Elementary. And he said, "Hey, so I just got to tell you, what you guys are doing down there is fantastic. I'm following along with you." This is an older gentleman that lives way out in the boondocks kind of thing. And I just see what you guys are doing down there and I really enjoy it. And I'm glad you're doing it for those kids. Cause that's something I'm like, that's cool. Like the people are seeing it, and it's not for me. Like I don't, and that's what, my response today, it's a team effort. It's all everybody. It's the staff, it's the kids. So
Okay. Now let's mention this. All right. Now you're in a school district. There are multiple elementary schools in your rather large school district, as in area large.
yeah. Yep.
And you folks have gotten some good publicity, like in the newspaper and I think on television and some other stuff. Are other elementary schools around you like, hey, what are they doing over there, Robb? Maybe we should start
Yeah.
doing some of that. What's been the reaction in the general neighborhood so far to this?
Yeah, I think a lot of them they like it. Some of them are like, "Oh man, they're doing that. Now how are we gonna do? What are we gonna do?" And it's like it's not a competition either. And what works for our school doesn't necessarily work for other schools. And other schools do a lot of cool things too that we don't do. And so it should never be a competition between schools or districts or anything else. Our district is geographically, I believe, the largest school district in the state of Pennsylvania, just because we're so widespread. We have 2 high schools, 1 middle school, and 5 elementary schools, but very widespread. I forget what the square mileage is, but very large school district. Our middle school is very big on Jostens. High school is just jumping into it. As of right now, I think we're the only elementary school doing it. But yeah, we're hoping, especially once we do our kickoff day this year, and if PC comes in, we're hoping to spread it. I was just talking to another teacher that was here at my house today. Her daughter came over to play with my daughter, and she said, "Well, what's Jostens like? Why get Jostens?" And I'm like, "Well," and I started telling her about all the things we do. I said, "All those things came from Jostens. That's the ideas you have and the connections you make, and just having conversations like we're doing today, like that." just make you think a little bit more.
Now, you're also getting attention, I think, outside. If I recall, the state secretary of education stopped by one day, and I
Yeah.
saw a picture, and he was clearly having a good time there in the hallway and so on.
Yeah.
Talk about that. That seemed to be pretty cool. What was going on
Yeah,
there?
that was really neat. So we have, and actually through one of our parents, a student that just actually moved to our school. He was in a private school and moved into our school. Um, and his dad played basketball with the secretary and a long time ago. And he said, "Hey, you got to go up here and see what they're doing here." So he said, "Yeah, let's make a visit." So came all the way up to Little Lock Haven, Pennsylvania, and joined. He also visited our Votech building, our CTC program up there, and got to see that a little bit. But yeah, he was really cool. The kids were pumped up to see him. So we took that red carpet idea from the first day of school, and we kind of we didn't want it to be just the first day and that's it. So once a month we do a red carpet. We just roll the carpet out. We tell the kids the day before, hey, red carpet tomorrow. Make sure you're here. And again, that helps with attendance, making the kids feel seen, heard, and loved. We try to get different groups. So sometimes we have like the football team from the high school came down. The swim team we had there. I'm trying to think. We had the band, the marching band was in and played for us on the red carpet. We had the Lock Haven Police Department come in on the red carpet. We had just so many different ones every month. It's someone different. So those folks help us feel seen, heard, and loved, or help our kids feel seen, heard, and loved as they're high fiving everyone and coming in off the bus. And then once we do announcements, we do what's called a champion walk, and we play Carrie Underwood song Champion over the loudspeaker. And I have some third grade leaders who are parade marshals. They know the route of the parade, so they take whoever our guests are, and sometimes it's the actual students themselves that do the champion walk. Sometimes it's faculty members, but they walk through, and all the kids come out in the hallways and high five. And that's some of the pictures you saw in the paper. All the students came out in the hallways, and it's just something we do at least once a month. So it was kind of neat because the kids just know it wasn't anything totally new. But the secretary, yeah, he was pumped up about it. And he just said how much you could just tell the genuine, just from all the staff, what he said, just feels different. Just feels like they want to be here, and they mean what they say. So yeah.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
And we're not talking expensive stuff. We're talking subtle little things
Yeah.
that make a difference for anybody, little kids, adults. Like, I'm seen, I'm heard, and hopefully, ultimately, I'm loved in
Yeah.
some way by somebody. So that's really cool. Now, you mentioned earlier, okay, you're a facilitator, which I guess kind of makes you like an administrator. All right. And I know from all the years that I've done this sort of stuff, administrators, they want proof. They want statistics and numbers and trends.
Yeah.
Is this really working? Here's the numbers, here's a spreadsheet and whatever. I don't know if you have numbers off the top of your head, Brad, but from your experience with Renaissance activities so far, is there something, test scores up, discipline down, anything that you can say, this is happening at our school primarily because of what we're doing with Jostens Renaissance? Is there anything there?
Yeah, actually, we do. And that's one thing I firmly believe in. I don't like to go out in the middle of the year and say, hey, you guys should try this to another school. Like, I want to be able to say, like, look what we're doing, and here's what happened. It's up to you. If you want to do it, this is how you do it. This is what we did. But I would never say this is what you should do. But we do. And like attendance, for example, was one of our big focuses last year as a whole district. And our attendance was really improved. And again, just by the simple thing, like I was on a meeting and it said, well, we could, this study says we should do this, we should do that. I'm like, keep it simple. Make the kids feel seen, heard, and loved, and they'll come. Like if they want to be here, it's nothing, it's not brain surgery. Just keep it simple. When you see them in the hallway, tell them how nice their shoes look. Tell them how, that shirt's really cool, or who's your favorite team kind of thing. Like those kind of things keep the kids coming back. I had one student that we were driving somewhere to a swim meet, my daughter's swim meet one night. It's beginning of the school year this past year. And my wife said, oh, I heard you met so-and-so's daughter. I'm like, oh, I did? And she's like, yeah. She said you talked to her about something, whatever. I'm like, oh, did she have a Band-Aid on her finger? She was going to the nurse. And she said, yeah, she said she was on her way to the nurse. I'm like, oh, okay. Like, I'm sorry, I didn't know who it was at the time. I know her now, but I didn't know who it was. She was walking through the hallway going to the nurse, and I just stopped and said something quick, like 10 seconds. And she went home and told her parents about it, like seen, heard, and loved. It's pretty simple. Um, The other thing we did before I share our numbers with attendance, but we did January and February. I think for a lot of folks, this year was a very sickly month. Our attendance was way down, and we always announce our attendance percentage every day and everything, and it was down in probably low 80s. And we're usually this year we've been up around 90 or 94. 94 is our goal usually, but in January, February is down really low, but kids started to feel better, we knew, and kind of the sickness thing was going away. So we did Jocelyn's idea of the March attendance madness. We took the attendance from February of each classroom and we seeded all of the classes to go up against different classrooms. I made this big, humongous bracket, just like March Madness, put it up in the cafeteria, and the kids would come in every day and look at it. We put the percentage of each class, and then class with the highest percentage on Friday for that week we'll move on to the next week, take on the next class. There was teachers trash talking. It was great. Like they were pumped up about it. We actually got a traveling trophy made for it, so we'll do that again next year. And the other thing we do for attendance this year is if we get 96% attendance or above, then we had TVs installed in our cafeteria, and we'll put movies on. I joke with our cafeteria staff. Again, that's free. It's easy. I joke with our cafeteria staff because I'm like, yeah, you get to see the same 30 minutes of the movie 4 times. We have 4 lunches. Said, do you go home and watch the rest of it afterwards? Like, no, we can't stand the first 30 minutes of it because we watch it all the time. But the kids know we put LED strip lights around, and so we turn the lights off, movies on, and we'll announce, hey, 96% today. And you know what that means? We're watching the movie. And the kids will come in some days like, hey, what was our percentage? What was it? Like if they're asking, they care, they're thinking about it. But no, our attendance, regular school attendance rate was up 10% from last school year. So it's a pretty big jump when you figure, 400 students. Another interesting one last year, and I think this was back in May, we had a meeting mid-May with something. We shared these numbers with them. Last year, mid-May, we had 119 students with 10 or more absences, which is the ones, you focus on more than 10 absences, chronicle absences. So 119 students had 10 or more. This year, we had 69 students with 10 or more, which is incredible just to see that especially though, again, because that's the habit they get into. The students who constantly miss it's more comfortable being at home, and it's just easier to stay home. And for parents, it's easier not to fight with them, but they actually want to be there. Our March attendance madness, we had a second grade. They were in the final four. They made it to the final four, but the teacher came in, she's like, yeah, I had a parent call me and say, we rescheduled our doctor's appointment to after school because a kid didn't want to miss school for a doctor's appointment. I'm like, oh, you can actually do that? Like, look at that. Like, but the parent was kind of laughing about it. And again, they showed appreciation for it. So definitely helped. And in this diagram here, we said students are feeling seen, heard, and loved, and we believe the improvement in attendance is due to positive relationships at school. And that's Jostens. Our ODRs, office discipline referrals, major referrals were down 45% this year. That's big. Like, wow. And again, those are majors, down 45%. Last year we were at 439 major ODRs, and this year we were at 241. So again, there's still some minors and everything, but you're always going to have some of those. But majors dropping that big, that's huge. I mean, it's just let the numbers talk for themselves. 65% of our students, that's 258 students, had 0 ODRs for the whole year. Like that's something that needs to, there's a lot of schools that don't have 258 students in them. 258 students. And again, that's what the public needs to see. Instead of putting PSSA scores and everything else in the paper, we need to get this stuff out there for the public to see that, look, it's working. And again, those scores will come. That's if you do this first, they'll come. They'll just naturally come, but you have to take care of this first. Couple more numbers. 84% of our students have 2 or less minor or major ODRs. So 2 or less total ODRs, 84%. That's for a whole year. I mean, that's a whole year. 94% of our students have 2 or less major ODRs. So definitely numbers that kind of speak for themselves, and definitely Jostens playing a huge role in the motivation that they give you, the inspiration, the ideas, the partnership, the relationships, definitely paying off.
Brad, those numbers are incredible. 1 year, one year, boom. Now the teacher trash talking, I'm not sure about that part. Okay.
All good trash talk, all good trash.
A little weird, Final question and we're done. All right. I'm hoping we have some folks checking us out and they've heard what we've talked about and they've said, boy, we really need to do that at our school. We need to get started with something. Very briefly, turn the clock back a little bit. How did you get started? In other words, you decided, okay, we want to do something. What happened after that? Tell us everybody, you know, how you kind of got the ball rolling.
Yeah, so Mr. Barth, our principal, allowed us to go. I took myself and I think it was two other faculty members. We went with Christina to a Jostens event. We experienced our first recognition rally. Got pumped up with that. We're like, we could do this. Like, let's make this happen. And it kind of just start little, think big, but start little, or else you're not going to do anything. If you try to do too much, you're not going to do anything because it's overwhelming. And you'll stop. So we started, when we came back, we held a recognition rally. And for those of you that might not know what that is, it's just ways of making kids feel seen, heard, and loved. You get as many kids recognized as possible. We had, third grade stand up. They all stood up where they were. And we said, they're getting ready. They've been doing this, this, and this to get themselves ready to show what they know. Let's give them, 2 Robb power claps. And everybody gives the 2 big claps. And then we actually use the third grade to stand up and we do a quick rock, paper, scissors competition with just those third graders. So again, it's just something small. It's free. We have beach balls flying around like crazy when we're playing music. Our phys ed teacher, Mr. Moore, he's our DJ and keeps the right kind of music playing. We had different groups. We had our Kent's Fest, which is our life skills students that performed. They came in and did a preview performance for us. Our school was phenomenal with those kids. They get up and they're playing their air guitars and stuff like that, and they're doing Beach Boys and other songs. And the other students were just amazing how supportive and loving they were. Just going, you would have thought you were at, I don't know, a Woodstock concert or something. Like, it was just crazy for our special needs kiddos to make them feel seen, heard, and loved. So that was a great way to celebrate that. And a recognition rally. We had our assistant superintendent come in to flip the coin for us for rock, paper, scissors, for heads or tails, where students, of course, have to put their heads on their hands or on their tails, which I always laugh at. And we had our local police department. He came in and flipped the coins for us. So just letting the kids see the police officer in that kind of light is totally different from how they might see them in their neighborhood and unfortunately sometimes in their house. So just starting small, but little things, and just kind of keep building on them and make it see what works and what doesn't. Sometimes you do things that might not work, and that's okay too. But probably recognition rally is one of the easier things I think to do. It's a big assembly to get as many different groups as possible to feel seen, heard, loved. We recognize our staff. What do you have them stand up? Who had perfect attendance here this year so far? Stand up. Recognize them a little bit. We had them do heads or tails too to kind of embarrass them a little bit. But yeah, just start small, think big, dream big, but start small and you'll go for it.
I'm really glad you mentioned community involvement. I love that.
Yep.
Please, the superintendent sometimes is in some far off office and that's where they are. I think community involvement in various ways, that's fine. Businesses and so on, that's fabulous. That's just absolutely awesome.
Yep.
Well, Brad, I tell you what, we appreciate your time today. We're going to be following you guys because you are on the right track, and appreciated you sharing all the ideas and inspiration you did here. And thank you very much for joining us here on the podcast.
Yeah, appreciate you. Appreciate Jostens. Thank you for all your support. Look forward to continuing a partnership with you for the 24-25 school season. It's coming, baby. This is it. Here we go.
A big thank you to our friend Brad McCloskey for joining us in this episode. We hope you got a lot of great ideas and inspiration here. And be sure to listen to the rest of our Renaissance Report series for more insights on education today and how to improve school climate, culture, and morale so that everyone wins, students and adults. Thanks again for listening. See you next time.